Welcome again to Tech Unplugged, live from NetApp Inside. I am with Jim. Hi Jim, and from Virtual Instruments, right?
Yes, Virtual Instruments.
So, tell me a little bit about Virtual Instruments and your role.
Thanks. So I've been with Virtual Instruments for several years now. Virtual Instruments, I'm the Director of Product Marketing, having a great time here at the Insight Show. So what Virtual Instruments does is generally called infrastructure performance management. And that's really about keeping people's applications up and running and working well in the IT infrastructure. And that's really at a very high level.
So you mentioned infrastructure performance when we were talking also at the booth earlier. So what does it mean, infrastructure performance, from your point of view?
Sure. So the infrastructure is all of the components necessary to support an application. If you're an infrastructure person, what we find is that customers, they don't really, the end user doesn't want to know about your problems with QDEPs and infrastructure details. What they want to know is, how do I optimize the performance of my application, and how do I avoid problems with my application, and if I have a problem, how do I solve problems with my application? So really we do two things. The first thing we do is when people are deciding how to support an infrastructure, we can help them test their existing applications and determine, for instance, can I move from fiber channel to iSCSI? Can I move to software-defined storage? Can I move to the cloud? What effects will these have on my application? Because the whole purpose of the infrastructure is to support the application. And once they've decided on the best price performance, the best technology, then we help them monitor that to avoid problems and to solve problems if they come up, any problems that are related to infrastructure.
That's nice. And last year you had this merge with Load Dynamics, okay?
Yes.
Now you are a company, the two companies, are quite complementary, no? So
they are very much.
Benchmark. So what do you see in the field from the end users? Do they appreciate that?
Wow, hey, that's a great question. So we recently had a couple of customer advisory boards where customers on both sides talked about their problems, their issues, where they're going with their infrastructure. And it was interesting, quite honestly, that integration of the two solutions was really the impetus of the two companies coming together, because we had the Virtual Wisdom customers saying, boy, I wish I had some way to test ahead of time to determine what kind of performance I might get. And we had the Load Dynamics people saying, boy, I wish I had a monitoring tool that verified all this theoretical testing I'm doing. So now the companies are together, and the thing and I'll give you a typical use case for where the two companies help each other. Or customer, I'll give you a use case of a customer who's running an application, and the user reports a problem, and we fire up Virtual Wisdom to be able to say, okay, we looked at your problem, we looked at 400 metrics, we analyzed it, we've determined that you've got a problem in this, your QDEPs might be set too high. We recommend you change the QDEPs from this to this. Now we can automatically ingest a synthetic workload into Load Dynamics, test the effect of that QDEP change, and know without guessing in a lab environment what kind of performance that change will make. Because let's face it, we've all been forced with this. You have a problem, your vendor says make these changes, you make the changes, and it doesn't help. Sometimes it hurts. Now they can make those changes and know for certain what those effects are going to be. And it's really been a big boon to those Virtual Instruments customers that now have access to this world-class load generation capability.
And so just one more question, because I'm curious now. Some customers don't have the infrastructure yet, so they are thinking about a new infrastructure.
Yeah.
How can you help them? Because sometimes they, no, we will just going to run some databases, some other source of application, but we don't have them. So do you have a mechanism to help them also in planning?
If they don't have an existing application, they're trying to size an application, or absolutely. So we do a couple of things. First of all, we have a library of what we consider to be very representative workloads that we got from customers. So if it's Oracle or Exchange or or SQL Server, whatever. So we've got some representative workloads that we can start with. And then of course it's very easy to tweak those. In addition to that, we have a free website called Workload Central, and people can, for free, upload their existing workloads, test them, and now we have a repository of dozens and hundreds of, let's say, SAP workloads that we can draw on and say, here's a typical workload model for this kind of an SAP application.
Ah, this is really nice.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Frankly, it's been the biggest demand for years, because if you've already got an application, you can model it, but what if you don't?
Where we can find more about virtual instruments and this portal you mentioned?
I would look at the virtualinstruments.com, our URL, or take a look at workloadcentral.com, and just workloadcentral, all one words.com, and you'll see an ability to upload those workloads and test it yourself.
Oh, Jim, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, that was great.